So Editor Aaron here. There was an episode that was supposed to go here as episode 55, and that was Weird Science. And it's a wacky episode, and unfortunately 45 minutes in, a situation occurred where you've heard us talk in and out about checking to make sure that we don't get this wacky sound effect that takes its revenge on us when we start recording. So we have to double check, is it recording correctly, is the time, whatever, all the things. Well, unfortunately, it was fine until 45 minutes in, and then the impact hit. And it sounds like it's the chipmunks underwater with a bunch of crackling aluminum foil just in your ear. It's an unpleasant experience, and I tried to work around it. I tried to see if it was possible that someone would be able to put up with it. It did not work. So there's a lost episode out there, and we might go back to Weird Science. We might try and record it again, but it will be our lost episode. And so this episode mentions us talking about 16 Candles. Well, we talked about that in the lost episode. So don't be like, whoa, what's going on here? There was no way that I was going to force that sound into your ears. It would have been unkind, unjust, and it would have been a miserable experience for you as a listener. So thank you for continuing to listen to Create It Morgan podcasts. The real episode 55, not so real episode 55, starts now. All right, welcome back to Nerds by Screenlight. My name is Aaron.
I'm Phil.
I'm Vicki.
And I'm Zoe.
And today we're taking we said 16 Candles, but
We lied.
We lied again.
Yeah, so liars.
We changed our mind.
Our pants are on fire. We're so many liars. So we've decided to call an audible, and we're doing, because myself and Vicki saw Twisters over the weekend, and then we were like, well, it seems timely to do a review of Twister, and so that's what we're doing today. So in that vein, we're going to talk about, each of us is going to share our most scariest storm story that we have in our experiences in life. Who wants to go first? I'm going to give you options. I'm not going to just
Phil should go first since it's his question.
Yeah, I can go first because I have two.
Okay.
I'll start with the most recent first.
Okay.
And that was Hurricane Charlie in Florida. I was in Florida for that.
Oh no!
Right in the middle of the path it was going.
Yeah.
And we were staying at like a hotel, like not a nice one, just one that's like one floor.
Yeah.
You know,
Right near the water.
big cockroaches and all that. But like,
Can't get away from them.
oh man, that was scary. We lost power for like a week.
Oh jeez.
We had a transformer like on the power poles just explode right outside our hotel, whatever you want to call it.
Oh jeez.
The loudest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
And my other one, which was far more scary. I was a young child, little wee lad.
Right.
Probably about like 8, anywhere between 8 to 10.
Okay.
This is back in North Carolina, we were living in a trailer park.
Yeah.
And we had a tornado come like very close to us.
Yeah.
And of course power went out. The sounds were like insane.
Yeah.
My mom had us like in the hallway, like doing the
duck and cover.
duck and cover,
Yep.
and like she was saying prayers. And then like we noticed like our neighbor was leaving, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Hey, do you want to come with us?" So like we all went with them, and I remember seeing a stop sign spinning in the ground like a top.
Oh jeez.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Tornadoes, terrifying. Like top 3
Yeah.
most scary things to
Yeah.
me. So
Okay.
those are mine.
There you go. Who else wants to go next?
I'll go. I've been really lucky, like, to not have, I feel like, super scary experiences. But last month there was a World Refugee Day here in town, and you could volunteer for like an hour. So I signed up for like 2:00 here downtown Fort Morgan. Well, like as soon as I show up, the wind starts blowing everything, and we just start getting hail.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what story you're talking
And there were
about.
like the overhead tent things, and so I'm trying to like help them like hold it down to keep it from blowing the wind. I have my thing up, so we have hail, we have wind. At one point, I don't know how strong that wind was, but I'm surprised I could hold on. It was so cold, it was so hard to hold on, and I was in pain because the hail. So that was not fun. I don't know if I would call that scary, but it was very unreal. Like, I shouldn't be out in this.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be out in this. I only stayed for about 30 minutes, waited till it was over, and they were starting to move on. I'm like, I'm gonna go home.
Yeah. Bye.
That storm was scary.
That was.
It was the hail was hitting our doors sideways, like piling up like snow in front of our doors.
Yeah, now having seen these 2 movies after that where they're like holding on through the wind, I'm like, oh, I feel you. Just trying to hold the head steady. I'm like, it could have flowed out of my hands.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, Zoe.
I have a lot, but I'll just say I'll do the one in my high school. So it was like 15 minutes before we were supposed to get out of school. I was in the only 2-story building that we had on campus, of course, and I was on the top floor.
Oh.
And there was a tornado coming straight for our school.
Oh, jeez.
And I literally looked out the window and like I could see it coming. I'm like, we're just gonna,
Yeah.
we're not gonna make it.
Oh,
But like literally last minute, it turned and we were allowed to leave, and that was honestly the scariest moment of my life.
You had a "we're all gonna die" moment.
I'll have to say, I wasn't in the storm, but there was a moment when I worked in Denver and I looked out my window and I just saw this funnel cloud and I was like, oh.
Oh yeah, I think you
Kieran
showed
and
me the
I had
picture.
just started dating. Like, but I that wasn't like, I wasn't in the storm, but I'll never forget that moment.
Yeah, no.
My other coworkers are like, whatever. And I'm like texting Aaron, like, what should I do? Should I go home? Should I stay put? Like,
What do you do? Yeah.
yeah. So I have got one that was scary, but also just hilarious, if you can imagine. So this is back in the day when I worked for Starbucks. So this is like at least 7, 8 years ago. And I got loaned out to a store in like Aurora for whatever, because sometimes they needed help. And, Starbucks, the nice thing about Starbucks baristas is we're all trained in the same systems. It's that you go from one Starbucks to the other. It's always the same thing, same ingredients, whatever. You don't got to cross train. You just show up, you log in, you do things. And this was, I don't remember what year this was, but there was a storm system that was starting to kick into gear. And it became so intense, we got hit with a tornado warning. Now, at that time, I knew what a tornado warning meant. A tornado warning meant, seek shelter now, you're going to die.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay, we got to shut the doors. Like, the wind was insane. We had water coming in the doors into the store. So the wind is like, it's blowing like whatever. It's a full-on severe thunderstorm. There's a tornado warning. We have people still trying to come through our drive-through.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And they're like knocking on the window, and we're like, it's a tornado warning. You gotta go.
Bye.
like,
No.
no, we're closed.
And so it was scary. Like, there was a very real possibility that it would have hit us or come towards us. But so after the storm settled down, we got things cleaned up. It was about 3 or 4 miles down the road.
Oh, geez.
It was it was a tornado, full-on tornado. It caused damage. It did all the things. And that was one of those moments that was like, okay, this is real. The other one was in Fort Morgan. We obviously get a lot of spring and summer storms, and we get our share of tornadoes and severe thunderstorms. And I was this is back when I was teaching GED, and we were out at the building at the far end of MCC.
I remember this.
We were in
now.
the main building. So I think it's Cedar or whatever it's
Yeah.
called. And we got a tornado warning.
Yeah.
And so everyone's looking at me because I've been kind of looking at the camp stuff. I'm like, yeah, we got to find a shelter. We got to shelter in place. We got to like find either go in the bathrooms or we got to go in the hallways here. And it was like full on, like there was we could see the rotation. We could hear the alarms going off. And it was bonkers. It was crazy. The only thing I will tell you as we'll go into a regular show here in a second and do our intro. For those of you who are listening out there, the word and how you have to figure this out is, and there's a lot of different ways to express it, but like there's warnings versus watches.
Yep.
A watch is, and then it's like people say like, oh, it's like tacos. If it's a watch, you have the ingredients for tacos in front of you.
Totally.
They're in various places of your kitchen. Tacos might happen.
Yeah.
Whatever. If it's a tornado warning,
There's the
tacos are happening.
Yeah. They've
taco
been
has
made.
been
Yeah, they've
prepared.
been made.
rotation sighted.
Yeah, there are things happening.
How fitting since we had tacos for dinner.
We
earlier
did. We
tonight.
did. So, and I've had people like not take warning seriously, and I'm like, look, oh, I don't see it. You don't. That's the thing about tornadoes that so we were talking about hurricanes earlier. There's a hurricane headed for Florida right now, and they're talking about, okay, we've got a track on it. They know a lot about hurricanes.
Oh, yeah.
They put planes in hurricanes that do all the studies of all the
Which
stuff.
is insane.
They go outside during hurricanes.
Yeah,
in
they-
Florida.
yeah.
Like,
Can't believe they do that.
Well, no, but like the National Weather Service
Sure.
flies a plane into the hurricanes to get those readings and to study them and to understand behavior of hurricanes. You can't really do that with a tornado because there's
They don't last as long.
the full
Hurricanes have more time to build up.
and the hurricanes are larger.
Yes,
Yeah.
Tornadoes, and the wind shear and the wind force inside, like, no, it wouldn't work. And so that's a lot of the mystery with tornadoes is they don't understand fully how they happen. Like they're not able. Oh, we've got the ingredients. Hey, a hurricane is forming. We're seeing this happen. We can alert. Tornadoes, it's like do. Okay, we got rotation. They can see like a hook on the radar, is what you hear a lot about. But I'll tell you right now, if you're listening, and if you have ever been in a moment where you're like, whatever, a warning.
Nope.
Do not make a warning not serious. Like, take it seriously, take cover, go in the basement. Even if you're like, it'll never hit us, that's when it will, and it'll hurt. So, hear me loud and clear. As an amateur weather and meteorologist person who doesn't really have all the studying but knows enough to be dangerous, listen to your warnings, take cover, and don't park your car under overpasses during hailstorms or tornadoes or any of those things. It's a really terrible idea. It's also illegal, I think, in the state of Colorado. They finally made it illegal
That would make sense.
because it causes accidents
Yep.
and people get hurt. It's just, ugh.
I love it. Like every time we get like a pretty crazy storm here, it's always like, let's go outside. Like, let's go look at it.
But there have been a few that have really scared me. Like
Yeah.
when that warning, I remember that warning, and
I do too. I was here like in the basement, and it was just kind of like, where are you? Like where are you sheltering?
and
know?
like we have no basement, so we're like,
Well,
what
we
do we
do? We-
I'm not getting in that crawl space with snakes and spiders.
if y'all have time, you can come here.
Yeah.
because honestly, I feel like ours would instantly blow
Yeah.
away.
Last summer, we basically
Our home.
sheltered. That's the safest room in the
Yeah,
house.
totally.
Yep. Okay. Well, there's your storm stories, and I'm sure there are people who have experienced them, especially if you've been in tornado-specific areas where there are more. But we're gonna take on Twister next, and it's a lot of fun.
It's a classic.
It's a classic. We'll be right back on Nerds by Screenlight. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Get nerdy with me. Talk nerdy to me. Get nerdy with me. All I really need for you to do is just please
I can stop.
talk to me. Talk nerdy to me.
All right. Welcome back to Nerds by Screenlight. My name is Eric.
I am Phil.
I'm Vicki.
And I'm Zoe.
All right, so Twister is it's one of my, I've forgotten how much of it is my favorite movie.
I watched it so
a classic.
many times growing up.
It is like, so the director is Jan de Bont, who is a legendary action director or just director in general, and it has Bill Paxton. It's got Helen Hunt. It's got the Ferris Bueller's Friend. It's got, I think it's even got French Stewart. He's on the bad guy team, and there's
Carrie
just,
Ellis too.
Carrie Ellis in
not
the
forget.
movie. There's a bunch of just names in this movie that are like, wow, they put together an all-star crew. Philip Seymour Hoffman, rest in peace.
Yes.
Like just some incredible acting folks that they assembled. It's a good movie. So what's interesting is the movie starts, and we get kind of the effects of the wind blowing the titles around, and then the intro here is we don't get any dialogue for a good couple of minutes. And what we get is the news telling us there's a tornado warning, and this is obviously far before really people take like warnings were big problem
Yeah,
news.
it starts in the 60s.
Yeah, and so there's not a lot of warning. There's just on the television stuff like that. But we get the backstory for Jo and her trauma that she experienced in that they get into the storm cellar, and Dad's holding onto the door trying to keep them safe, and then Dad gets yanked into the tornado.
It takes the door off.
He gets yeeted.
Yep, yeeted into the tornado.
I looked at Zoe at this scene and I was like, why is their cellar so far away? It's usually like right beside the house or something like that.
Fair.
And I think on some farms the storm cellar was in like a hill or like far away so it would keep cool.
Yeah.
So if you had like stuff that was canned
Sure,
or
that makes
whatever,
sense.
you wanted it to be in a cooler like farther away from the house. it also, the storm cellar being farther away from the house, so if a tornado took the house, it wouldn't take the storm cellar with it. Like,
Makes sense.
I don't know if that's actually the logical, but in my brain I'm like, well, that's part of it. And so, yeah, we are fast forward to present day. What I love about this movie is it doesn't really give a time or like this is 1992. It's like, nope, this happened, and then now we're in present day.
Yeah.
And
It dates it a little bit.
oh yeah,
It's definitely in the 90s because there is a drive-in theater.
yeah.
Which, fun fact, that's when I first saw this movie, was in a drive-in theater.
Okay, well, there you go.
Man, you're lucky. I would love to have that experience.
Oh, I've seen this movie, and I watched the first X-Men at a drive-in.
Fort Morgan had a drive-in for a while,
know,
and it's shut down and hasn't been around. So the thing about drive-ins, to take a small rabbit trail, is the projection is expensive because it all has to be digital, and the licensing fees and everything that follows along with being able to do drive-in movie theaters and the technology that's always constantly changing. Like they would have the replacements of their projectors would have run them in the 30,000 plus range,
wow.
and it put our drive-in movie out of business. The sign is still sitting on the side of the highway.
Yeah.
It's there, but it's no longer functional. So we get the present day, and I love the cinematography of this movie. Like,
Oh, yeah.
every moment this camera works is just playing with the scenery, or like coming down and zooming in on cars and like all this stuff. It is just absolutely.
Even the music, I felt like really set the tone for
Yes.
the movie.
Yeah, so they do. So the difference here is they have obviously soundtrack music.
Yeah.
But it's like they have the dun 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 dun, like the dun 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 dun. It's like a nice spring little kind of, and you're like, there's like okay, we're in this. It's
Yeah,
an adventure.
let's
This is
go.
exciting. So it naturally kind of pulls you in, and so we get introduced to the team.
Well, yeah, Bill and Melissa.
Wackos.
Okay, yeah. Well, here's what's interesting about this movie. So, and we're gonna compare it against Twisters. We're not gonna. I mean, there's not a lot of stuff to spoil in Twisters, like plot wise. If you're like really averse to hearing about Twisters, you may just want to go watch it and then come back. But there's nothing really.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna groundbreak any spoilers in Twisters, but I am gonna draw some comparisons to how that movie does it versus this movie.
Okay.
So in this movie, the national NOAA, the National Oceanic, whatever, the NOAA, the weather people, they're interspersed in this movie, but they don't actually have any impact with anybody else. They're just there to kind of provide background, which it really works in this movie. It's amazing how well it's seamlessly, like they pull the narrative and it just
Yeah.
in Twisters, our lead character starts out working for the National Weather Service, and then her friend shows up after 5 years of not being a part of the thing and says, you need to come back out of this cool technology. You got what are you doing in New York City? It's not really fun. It's not really cool. And so he pulls her back in with like, oh, we got some cool stuff. And that's the last we see of the National Weather Service. And I kind of wish we had a little bit of like pieces that we had in this movie, like you had some kind of connection there, but it is what it is.
Like kind of going back and forth.
Yeah, because it was cool. This movie, you're just like, okay, this is serious. Like
Yeah.
they're, and you could tell. Like there's certain moments where like they're looking at the screens and the music kicks in and the expressions of the
Yes.
characters. You're just like,
Yeah.
oh, this is not good. This is bad.
Yeah, you immediately think, okay, yeah, time to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what they do. They
Yeah. They
jump in their vehicles
and they're going into the storm. Well, so what I had a thought and then it vanished for a moment. It'll come back again, I promise. What I like about it is, so there is a lot of showing in this movie. There is not a lot of telling in Twister. You are watching and the emotions and all of it's being shared with you, and you are along for the ride.
Well, they do something really smart because the fiance Melissa doesn't know anything about storm chasing. She's going completely blind, and so I feel like they cleverly put an exposition there.
She's the audience surrogate. She's absolutely the audience surrogate.
Except
because
she's a little slow on the uptake.
Yeah.
She's interesting.
She is. What's interesting
Can't
about
wait to get your opinion.
Yeah, we're going to be swerving in and out of counselor. It's no longer a counselor's corner; it's a lane.
Yeah.
we're going to be heavily leaning into that.
That's like the tornadoes. Like there's two sometimes, and then there's just one. That's
Right.
gonna be like that.
I'm glad we got a real counselor, because if you ask me, I'm just like, y'all are all insane. Padded rooms for all of you.
Oh my god.
This is why Phil is not a counselor.
Yeah, no. That should not be the goal.
This is why this is why Phil is not a counselor.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he'd be like, nope.
Padded ribs, all of you. Just put it on a T-shirt.
Welcome to Phil's asylum.
Phil for mayor. Padded ribs for all of you.
You should have been like lobotomies for everybody.
Oh,
Electroshock, baby, let's do it.
I gotta go.
Both of those things are terrible. And
Yes, I am joking. This is all a joke.
Those are dark humor.
yeah, I think we've talked about lobotomies on the show.
Yes,
we
we
did.
have.
We had like a whole lobotomy segment.
Yeah, and how they were actually really used. Like it was a thing, and up until recently, it's okay. So we get we meet Melissa and we meet Bill.
That's the actor's name.
Oh, what is?
Oh, it is.
No, that is actually
They're
the
both
name of the
Bill.
movie.
It's
Yeah.
both for
Yeah.
once.
Yeah. So
Easy role for him to.
Yeah, we meet Melissa and Bill as they're driving in their nice little.
Fun fact: Tom Hanks was originally going to have this part, but he didn't feel like he was right for it. But he had
Right.
worked with Bill Paxton on Apollo 13, and he helped him get the role.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, Tom
Interesting.
Hanks would not. No.
He didn't think he
No.
was right for this
No.
role either. He kind of called it. He's like,
Good for him.
yeah,
Actually.
and helping his friend get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we meet all of our people, and
That's so fun.
it is absolute. So what I love about this movie, so the power of an ensemble movie, is you don't want it to be too like. You want it to be genuine.
Right.
You want that ensemble cast to kind of like, you want it to feel natural. You don't want to be like, oh well, okay, that Philip Seymour, Dusty. Okay, well Dusty's the weird one. He is.
Yeah.
Oh, he's
awesome.
so.
But
great.
he does. But Philip Seymour Hoffman plays him so well that you forget that it's Philip Seymour Hoffman.
I
You're just-
forgot until I looked at the credits, and I've seen this movie 1,000 times. I just don't think of him.
yeah. So he's. Yeah. It's. Each of them have their moments in this movie,
Yep.
and even like individual lines as
Yes.
it goes, that you get a kick out of hearing those lines again.
It's called the suck zone.
Yeah, suck
That's
zone.
not
Or
the
when he-
like
when he-
real term. But
Or when he goes up to like the enemy guys, he's like, "Yeah, give us a kiss."
Yeah.
he
My,
gets in the car.
my favorite is there's a cow. There's another cow.
I think it's
No,
the
I
same
think it's the
one.
same cow.
yeah. So this.
Or the line about roll the maps.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Rabbit gets so mad at his buddy. He's like, roll the maps. But yeah, they're like just an incredible cast. So we get the introduction to the roll the maps. There's a consistent theme in this movie where he says, "Oh hey, you're back." He's like, "I'm not back."
Yeah.
And he
How many times did he say it?
it's like
3 or
at least,
4?
At least 4.
And
Yeah.
then, like in the next scene, he's jumping in the car and he's
Yeah.
like, "Let's go."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, he's
Welcome back,
driving.
Bill.
Yeah. Yeah, he does, and she says so. They meet Joe because he's come with divorce papers, and it's time to sign the papers, and
So he can get remarried.
right, and so the papers had been delivered to her in December.
Right.
We're clearly now in the summer and spring, so we're talking April, probably May,
Maybe June.
maybe June. If we're talking 4 or 5 months have passed since the original sending of the papers. She still has them in the glove compartment of her truck.
she didn't lose him.
Nope, she didn't. They were there.
Good.
So he's like kind of being like, hey, you should sign him, you should sign him, and she's like, okay, I got him, and he's like, nope, I got this one. Oh, where'd this come from?
Let me read this.
Let me read this, and she's just like, you didn't.
And it conventionally has a big red arrow
Right,
pointing
yeah.
to the,
She's like, what's your hurry?
signature.
Wait, you're not alone? Oh, wait, I want to meet her. And she walks away.
well, no, and she says, he said, I left her with Dusty. He said, you left her with Dusty? You're awful. That's a terrible idea.
It's the best idea.
Yeah.
Her eyes are big like saucers. He's like, the suck zone.
I'm
I
curious.
love his interactions with Melissa. They're
Yeah.
so funny.
I'm curious. I don't know if you noticed this because it took me the second time.
Yeah.
But when she's giving him the papers, she like takes a ring and puts it back on.
Yeah,
her
I
so
noticed
it's her,
that.
So it's her school ring, but her school ring was on her married finger.
Yeah.
But so what had happened probably is she had just and that may have been her wedding ring, but he didn't say it. Isn't so it's again it's that showing, right?
Yeah.
It's you're like, okay, what's going on there? Because she shifts it back to her regular finger, like it's not the married finger, and so yeah, it's very interesting. It's subtle,
Yeah.
but you're like, okay, what's
Like,
going on
yeah.
here? What's the story? because I'm sure there was probably a story
Something,
in the background
yeah.
there. But yeah, no, she did take it off and switch it, but she does it kind of like as she's thinking.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, well now this is happening, but she definitely forgets to.
I love how they interact with each other.
So I wrote chemistry. The chemistry between Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton is straight fire. These two are. You believe that they were once married,
totally,
and you believe that they were once a team, and you believe that they absolutely either love and or hate each other at the same time, and the arguments they have for the whole movie is just.
The first argument that they have that we're about to get to, the way that they're like, she's kind of like smiling while they're arguing. I'm like, are they having a real argument? Or are they flirting? Like
it's like flirting. I feel like, honestly.
I think she thinks it's flirting. He's genuinely unhappy.
Yeah.
He's upset.
I'm a happy person. Like, yeah, you sound.
I'm
happy.
like, are you really happy?
Like you're not. I don't believe you.
Right. So yeah, So the. I gotta keep.
Where they're going off for the first.
So yeah, so he.
Well, let's talk about their device that they're working.
Yeah.
with,
So Dorothy.
That's
Yes.
important.
So Dorothy is introduced. Dorothy 1, 2, 3. I think they have 5 of the devices, correct?
4.
4. So they got 4 Dorothys. Now it's interesting to note when he talks about her department. Oh well, she's probably dragged her whole department out there. This is a university funded program.
Yeah, because she's like a doctor, right?
Yeah, she's a doctorate. Now, what's funny is she doesn't ever talk to herself like as a doctor. Like,
Oh,
I'm a doctor.
no.
What's interesting, so obviously Melissa is a doctor.
Yeah.
She says, "Oh, Dr. Melissa, whatever," and yeah,
She's wearing a business suit in Oklahoma country.
yeah, it's not a great look.
What do you think her accent is?
That's a good
Because
question.
it was very,
It sounded southern sometimes.
but like deep.
Yeah,
Like what I would call like the deep south. Like
Maybe she's from Savannah or something.
yeah.
probably from Georgia somewhere.
Yeah.
Depending on if she was actually affecting an accent or if that is her actual
real-
accent.
yeah.
No, she
Yeah.
was born in Chicago
Okay, so
in the 60s.
Probably part of her character
in
then.
65.
she did pretty good actually.
Yeah, she's an actress, producer, and executive. So
Oh,
she's,
wow.
she's still rocking and rolling. She's still doing things.
Interesting.
Her last, she was she was in a bunch of movies and shows. So there we go. She's still around. So they introduced Dorothy. So Dorothy is a device where they put it in the path of a tornado, and then it gets sucked up in it, and they get all that data.
You know, when I was a kid,
Yeah.
I thought this device was meant to like destroy the tornadoes.
No.
No.
So actually, that comes up in Twisters, which just
so
came
in,
out.
in Twisters, the sequel, part of our main character's research is in coming up with a chemical compound and a process by which to like de-energize a tornado, which is interesting. I don't know how actually scientifically feasible that is,
Totally.
but it's a very interesting plot point because they have to have something different with the new sequel to figure that out. So we get Dorothy. And then things are happening. Like the things start to kick off, and they've got a cell. They've got something happening, and then so they go and chase. They go and chase at this point.
They start their first chase.
Yep.
And they
and I think it's the first fight that also happens.
they're having that stupid argument.
Yeah. So
my
he runs
favorite line
off the
comes
road.
up.
yeah, Vicky's favorite line.
Oh my gosh! So when she's like, "Oh, what does she do for a living?" "Oh, she's a therapist." And Helena, "Oh, yours?"
Yeah, that was funny.
That just shows the age of the movie because like
Right.
that cannot happen.
You're right.
Period.
No.
Like that
No,
would not be a
but-
real thing.
But it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be an inappropriate.
Yeah.
But it's just like she just threw a match into gasoline, and the argument just
Well, then
he
it's-
goes nuts. Like, "Oh, what do I need therapy for? You're the doctor. Tell me."
Well, and she dies.
And she's like, okay. And he gets
have
back more
commitment.
angry. She's like, "You asked."
I love how he runs off the road and doesn't even realize it.
Right.
And she's
The
like,
people-
maybe try driving.
Yeah,
Just-
literally.
she's like, "Could you start driving?" He's like, "Can I drive?" He's like, "Why?" Or could you start driving? And then they nearly swerve into a combine.
And I'm like, the people behind you aren't going to honk and be like, "Hey, what are you doing, bro?" Like,
For
Well,
real.
so as this movie goes, you'll know that they hear
Over the radio.
the open radio. the
Yeah.
open mics. So they're
Well,
hearing this argument.
maybe not at this point because they're all rocking out
Oh,
for their
that's true.
first.
Yeah.
They got their.
Well, there's one
That
group that's
song
like,
playing.
I think they're getting better.
Is that this or later?
Is this one.
Okay, so so we get a bunch of introductions to Phil's point with the music.
Yeah.
So every car has their own musical theme that they're playing. So Preacher has the Ride of the Vow. It's like
The William Tell Overture.
William Tell
Yeah.
Overture. Dusty's got
some rock music.
Some
playing.
rock music, yeah.
Yes.
And then the guys in the guy and the
They're
gal.
singing Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
And what's like all these songs are playing at the same time, and it doesn't sound bad.
Right.
That's brilliant
Yeah.
score work.
As
right
an
there.
ex DJ, I'm like impressive.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and it flows really well. Like the scenes flow together really well, so it's not jarring to go from one to the other.
Yeah.
But it's also an effective way. Again, it's showing us these kinds of characters. We understand Preacher. Like he's called Preacher. He's dressed like a minister from like the Dakotas. He drives a station wagon. Like clearly he's a former pastor or current pastor. He just does storm chasing for fun. So you're able to put pieces together about these characters based on the little information they're showing you. Yeah. They're not going like, "Oh, Preacher, how's your church in Nebraska going? Oh, it's great. We got a couple new members." No, they don't do that. They show you, okay, this is the dude, this is his story. He's probably a bit of an adrenaline hound because when he's behind the seat for the William Tell, he's like, he's really intense.
He's like,
behind
ha,
it.
ha, ha.
Right. So there's that. There's a lot of that. Like, this is an interesting character. You have something you wanted to say?
I'm just okay. So he immediately gets in the car with his ex-wife and leaves her to be driving his new
Yeah.
potential wife.
Right.
To drive by herself towards a tornado while she's on the phone with her clients. I just don't
Well,
understand.
it was her decision to tag along. He originally was like, "Hey, wait here, we'll figure it out," or
She's
whatever.
like, "No, honey, this is interesting. I'm gonna check this out."
Is
It's like,
it?
Oh, dude.
You have no idea what you're getting into.
This leads to the second fight where she's like, "Well, you got to turn. You got to turn. Are you losing your nerve?" And you could just use Bill
You
Paxton's.
chicken?
He says, "Bill Paxton's like, buckle up." Cinches her
right
and-
into a ditch.
Yeah, just. And he immediately goes like, "This was a bad idea." Like she's like, "You gonna get out of here?" He's like, "I know this was not a great choice." And so he at least admits that this was dumb.
Yes.
So they get stuck in the ditch and they're headed towards a bridge, and the tornado's coming behind them, and so they have to take cover. They gotta get under the bridge, and so she's wanting to launch it, and he's like, "We can't do it. We can't do it. There's no chance. We gotta go." This is a consistent theme with Joe. And to swerve into Counselor's Lane, how would you evaluate Joe's character at the beginning of this movie when it comes to her relationship with kind of the tornadoes and the story of what a tornado did to her family?
So me and Phil had this long conversation about how like the tornado is almost like a monster.
It's
I
almost
wish you wouldn't have brought that up yet. I was going to save it till the end.
Sorry.
too late.
Too late.
Twister is a monster movie.
Yeah.
Because
And there are multiple monsters.
Yeah.
The tornadoes are all different, actually.
Yeah.
Like we got this one, which is like the baby one,
Yep.
you know, and then we get like the two sisters, the water ones. So that would be like a different monster.
Yeah.
And then we get like the one that disappears and reappears.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, that's a teleporting monster.
Okay.
And then you got the big boss, the big mama.
Yeah, at the end.
Yeah, it's like the final boss. Like, yeah, I'm watching, and they even refer to it as like, oh, when it eats.
Yeah.
And I think they call it a monster at one point.
Well, and the sound effects you hear even at the beginning of the movie is they overlaid animal sounds into
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, a tornado doesn't sound like that.
Yeah.
But in a lot of ways, you're right. It is a monster movie, and the tornado is the antagonist in this movie. Now, Cary Elwes and his crew, they're secondary antagonists. They don't really go out of their way to harm our characters. They are generally
Oh, except that
jerks.
one time they try to run him off the road.
Right, but no one gets hurt. It's not like oh my gosh, you've caused damage upon my family. We must have revenge on you.
True.
It's kind of just a gentle like, ha ha ha, funny, you idiot. But yeah, it is,
Boys.
to Phil's point. They are absolutely monsters, and they are to skip ahead for a second, when Wakita gets hit, that is like, we talk about like the lead, like the main character's moment where they lose something, or they must now fight back. They have to stand up for their rights, or they stand up for the people. That's the moment, because the big Bertha, the big boss tornado, nearly kills her aunt. And not just so, and we talk about the ensemble part of this movie, that tornado almost took all of their aunt Meg away from them. And that you can see on their faces when they roll up as a team and they go, "Oh my gosh, like we got to help her. We got to do something.
I feel like it starts a little bit before that though.
Yeah.
Like when they're going towards the tornado up on the hill and they do their first time they try to do the thing.
Yeah.
Because they have that really poignant moment of like, girl, like you're literally trying to kill yourself, like
Yeah.
by trying to go right into this tornado.
Yeah.
why don't you look at me? This, like, I'm here right now. Like, stop looking at the past.
That's a really cool scene. And
Yeah.
I think we can get there in a second, but that is the power of a well-written script, having two incredible actors being able to make that scene win, because it's the moment where he turns and says, okay, it's actually all about you. Like, you've been the one since the beginning. Now, obviously, this leads us down the road eventually having to talk about Melissa and how she gets hurt in this movie. She eventually gets her justice. It's justice delayed, but she gets her justice. But it's that moment, because she has been kind of the Counselor Corner conversation is she's been pursuing these tornadoes for her entire life, trying to defeat them and to get answers, to the point of trying to like throw herself into a tornado, like all those kinds of self-harm.
Like, I literally have chills because when he says, like, killing yourself isn't going to bring your dad back, like, that hit me, like, pretty hard, because it's like, you know what, he has a point. Like, you can't just keep putting yourself in danger. Right. Like, I know your bigger purpose is to save other people because of your experience. So, like, please don't die. Yeah. We need you.
Yeah, because the whole thing is, like, she wants to have, like, an early warning system, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting is since this movie came out, they've talked. There was conversation about the impact this movie had on the storm chasing community, not just the storm chasing community, but meteorology and everything like that. Is our warnings have gone from 3 to 5 minutes to now 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, thank you, crazy people.
But that's because like
thank you, storm chasers.
Well, not just storm chasers, but radar's gotten better. Advances in that, like all of the parts of that movie that were literally the reality. Like, you had no warning. There was no way you could look for a hook, and that was maybe it. But you couldn't issue a warning unless you spotted it or saw it. And now you can see a definite tornadic hook on radar, and they make studies of it, and they have storm watchers, and a massive amount of storm watchers across the state, across the country, who are trained to recognize rotation and to immediately make a phone call. Hey, I've got rotation out here. Hey, I'm seeing it. It's this. Here's my location. So then they can feed that into the computer. They can feed it in the forecast and go, hey, we got a sighted tornado. Sound the alarms. Get people to cover.
Well, I love it because my phone, it'll go off and it'll be like rain starting in 1 hour and 13 minutes.
Yeah.
And so it's usually pretty spot on.
Pretty spot on, yep.
It's like, wow.
Forecasting and weather forecasting has come a long way.
Yes.
In the intervening years since this movie came out, which was 96. 96. That is a long time ago. I was still in middle school.
I was 5 years old.
Yep. A long time. Okay, so we continue.
I was 4.
So so they crash into the bridge. They jump out the truck. He says, we can't set up enough time. They get under the bridge, and the tornado takes the truck and the farming equipment. And so
there's a line that you love.
Yeah. So they keep, like, Bill's recovering. She turns around and he's like, oh, thank goodness it's over. And she kind of looks around. She goes, where's my truck?
Yeah.
And Melissa's driving. And boom!
See? Melissa, get off the phone.
Yeah. So she freaks out, of course, screaming.
And Dusty's like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It was right in front of you.
So getting to Counselor's Corner, this is not good boundaries.
No.
This is not a good time to talk to your client.
Also, when she's doing it in front of Bill and Joe,
it's so
that's
awkward.
so unethical, dude.
Yeah.
Like, she's literally saying, like, very
personal
things about people's relationships.
And their names.
I'm like,
And she's looking at him like, what kind of therapist is she?
I'm also
He
sitting here
clarifies.
like, how would she bill them, dude? Like, what, 10-minute calls every, like, 5 minutes? Like, how would you bill that? I don't even know.
So here's an interesting story, right? So it's a violation of HIPAA, primarily, is what that is, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Guess what? Guess when the HIPAA Act was signed into law? August 21st, 1996.
That's crazy.
After the film.
So the movie, in theory, now of course there's you already.
It's like, this is why we have this law.
So, but that's interesting because I've watched some other channels that like their Cinema Sins, which sins movies.
Yeah.
And
I
on one of their
love them.
recent ones, they were talking about, oh well, HIPAA, this is a HIPAA violation, and someone was like, well, actually, HIPAA wasn't a thing until '96, and this movie takes place here, so HIPAA doesn't exist. And so in this case, theoretically, I mean, there are, even in '96, there were rules about counselors and what you could or could not disclose. But within the federal law offense of that offense that she does, HIPAA did not cover her, or did not cover that situation. So there's your fact that you didn't need to know in there. So yes, And what I love about this movie is a lot of its practical effects. There's some CGI. Obviously, all the tornadoes are CGI.
But it looks so great.
Yeah.
1996.
Even for today, it looks
yeah,
good.
it holds up. There is very few parts of this movie where the CGI is like, okay, well, I don't know about that. It works really well.
I feel like I'm there, like
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the pull between the sound design
Yes.
and how they do the practical on top of the CGI.
Yeah.
It's just
Especially, I know this is like towards the end, but
Yeah.
like when they're in it and
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
looking
yeah.
up, that
Yeah.
is the coolest thing
yeah.
ever.
Now, obviously, in my perspective, there's no chance they survive that.
No.
I don't think.
No.
I don't think they live.
And apparently in real life, they say that if you were to actually look up an Emma, you would see more than one funnel inside.
That would make sense, actually.
Interesting. The things.
No, it's
The
fascinating.
more you know.
But
the
then
thing-
you're like seeing the blue sky. Like, it's so cool.
it's that paradox. Yeah.
No, I love that ending scene. It's not real, but it is absolutely fits with the movie. So what I love about this is they actually had to drop that truck.
No way.
They had to.
Oh my
You're
god.
right, because it's the 90s.
Well, yeah. So that truck had to be probably.
And she really had to swerve?
Yeah. Well, probably there was a
Oh,
stunt
that was
driver.
probably a stunt double in
Okay.
the car.
Probably a stunt driver in there. But yeah, no, because you see it drop. So there was probably a crane where it was holding these movies, like old school classic practical effect movies. They absolutely had stunt like actors and stunt. It was very coordinated, right? So that truck was probably held up and like ready to fall. But they probably had maybe one or two, or maybe in case that scene didn't go well,
Right.
Because they have to put it up and relaunch it, rebuild it. But yeah, no, that's my absolute favorite of like, where's my car? Where's my truck? Boosh! Now I am sad that we lose that truck because that
Because
truck.
you love your truck.
I just love that truck. That truck is awesome. It is the coolest truck in the world for Bill's truck. But
Which gives us another great line. It's like,
yeah.
do you have insurance? And he's like, oh,
Liability
no. She's like, you got
only.
full coverage, right? He's like,
Liability.
liability. And she's like, just liability?
and he's like, no,
And
we're
you're-
not.
She's
doing
like,
it.
yeah.
It's like it's a very pretty truck, and he's like, no, we're not doing this.
We are, though.
And so they end up doing it. They end up getting Dorothy back, both Dorothys, I think, on it. And they're in it.
I'm sorry, but like, I even feel like Joe gives Melissa a look every time her phone rings.
Yeah.
Like, what are you
Well, you also have to think it's the mid '90s, where like cell phones were not a thing.
That's
and,
true.
And they're probably like they're hearing a phone in the car.
Right.
Everything about it is just like, really?
like,
Yeah,
yeah.
because everyone else is just on like ham radio.
Right,
Yeah.
that's true.
Well, it's funny that the ham radio, obviously at that point they were across channel, so they were talking to the competitors and able to get out, stay off this channel or whatever.
I like the nicknames for the competitors: Nightcrawler,
Yeah.
Fleas,
Yeah.
the Auto Club.
Yeah, yeah.
They are jerks.
They are.
Yeah.
They're absolutely jerks. So they load up Dorothy and then
They're off to chase another tornado.
They're off to chase-
immediately.
Oh, and this is
This is where we get the cool,
Like the water
the
spouts.
sisters.
Yeah.
They call
Yes.
them the sisters.
oh, okay, yeah. Because they end up doing something happens to the car, or it gets damaged, or what happens? So they
What do you mean? Her car just got destroyed, so now he's in his.
Yeah, they're
but
in the red truck.
The truck's gonna have a flat at some point here in the future.
Oh, wait, we've already went way past that.
Okay.
We totally skipped the coffee and the car situation.
Oh yeah. Okay. So we skipped over that. So
You
there's
gotta pull up the plot. Hold on.
So Bill is aware of Dr. Jonas Miller.
Yes.
And he's they're arch enemies and whatever.
I'm going to have maybe an unpopular opinion about these guys.
Okay.
You take them out the movie and it doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt the movie at all.
Well, so
If anything, it might make it better because it'll make it shorter.
Oh my Lanta.
See, I thought it was well paced.
Yeah, it's well paced, but I mean, like, these guys don't need to be there.
I think they're in there to kind of like give them something else to fight against.
Yeah.
So as an audience, you're just like, oh, they're just only fighting it. There's another layer there.
Yeah.
What's interesting about Twisters is
Yeah.
we're on the reverse side. So we end up on the side of the nerdy computerized
Tech gurus.
tech
They all have
gurus
matching
with all
uniforms.
the money. Yeah. So we end up on that side of things. We find out that there is a darker secret as to how they're funding themselves to get. It's not really like an evil secret, but it's
Okay.
like they're basically buying.
But it's like a little like dirty money kind of.
well, real estate. So the people's houses get destroyed. This guy comes in.
Oh, that's great.
And then buys up.
Yeah,
And
lovely.
You find that out, and so. But what's interesting about it is, so in this movie, Cary Elwes and his driver do not get redeemed. They died. They get blown up to bits.
See, I thought his driver had some potentially redeemable qualities.
Well, he didn't redeem himself fast
He
enough.
should have
No, he
listened to
didn't.
Bill
He-
and
he
just
got-
Listen to Bill.
He got
Or, like,
straight Final Destination.
He did.
He got killed.
But he was a glass half full kind of guy. Like he tried to like, well, there's this part of like,
I mean,
Yeah,
he
'cause
tried. He's
at
like,
what-
listen to him.
Yeah.
yeah,
He tried, but he wasn't going to do it. So in Twisters, our antagonist guy, Javi, who is her former friend, she works with a little bit, then she separates. In the end of the movie, he comes through and actually saves and helps and
Yeah.
redeems himself. And so there is that element in Twisters where that character, that similarity between Carrie Elwes and the character of Javi, there's redemption in Twisters versus in
but
Twister.
Javi's way more likable.
Yeah,
He's got a
there's-
cool arc.
It's also, I think Javi is played in Hamilton.
Yeah, he is.
He was Alexander Hamilton's son.
Yep.
No way.
Yep.
Okay.
He's been in a couple things.
Yeah,
It's been cool to see his success grow.
Yep, he's pretty cool. So they end up fighting at the diner.
Like middle school kids
Yeah.
at recess.
Well, what's funny is I think Helen Hunt intentionally didn't tell him about it because she wanted him to fight. She wanted to watch Carrie
taking
Elwes
out
get-
some of her anger.
Well, she wanted Dr. Jonas Miller to get punched because he talked about, I'm Dr. Jonas Miller, like, and she's just like, I'm just Joe Harding, like I'm Joe, like I'm not Dr. Harding, like none of that doesn't enter in. And so she was trying. I think she either subconsciously or consciously used Bill to punch out Dr. Jonas Miller.
I think it's like a deeper level for them because it's like almost taking away their purpose because
Yeah.
he literally says their exact same things that they say.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yes, we need an early system to save people. And it's like, do
Yeah.
you really want to save people or you just want to like make
Yeah.
some more money
Yeah,
or
you
whatever?
just want to be in front of the cameras and be all shiny and pretty. So yeah, I skipped over that. I just love that, and Bill keeps going back to punch him.
Yeah.
He's like, oh well, and he's
telling
like,
Middle schoolers at recess.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny because then like I think she makes a comment about I hope somebody warns her about your temper, and he does. He has a little bit of that flashy anger, kind of whatever.
And him yelling, I'm a happy person.
Liar.
No, I don't think so.
You weatherman.
So the scene where we skipped over this. So Melissa and Joe are in the diner,
Yeah.
and she kind of looks at her and says, "You're still in love with him, aren't you?" She doesn't say yes or no, and then Melissa orders 2 coffees or whatever, and then what's interesting, and I mentioned this to Vicki, and she was like, "Ooh!" So she then takes Melissa's ticket, puts it with hers, and says, "We're together."
Yeah.
Now, yeah, she's being kind, but guess what? They're both together because they love Bill.
That makes
So
sense.
she's acknowledging we're together in our love for Bill, and I think that's her way of admitting, yeah, I do.
We're a
love him.
triangle right now,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we will become only 2.
Yeah. Thankfully, Melissa lives. This isn't like the end of her life.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I feel sorry
I
for her.
I
Honestly.
love how
Yeah.
she put her drinks on top of the
Car, and they just.
I know what I was like, never do that. Never put everybody. Listen, never put your drinks on top of the car. You will forget them.
Or
Yes, you
wallets.
You will forget them.
Or wallets. Or
Okay.
purses.
Okay, Phil. That's a little on the nose for me.
I didn't mean it that way. I know from experience. Like, don't
Yes.
do it.
You're digging yourself a hole, Phil.
Okay, moving on to like the green sky thing, which I've
Yeah.
walked outside.
I've seen in real life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've seen
and
here.
it's-
Like I've walked out of the gym here and been like, ooh, it's looking kind of green.
Yep.
I've looked at the girl behind the counter. I'm like, let me pull up my radar and make sure I can get home.
Yes.
Yeah. So there is a phenomenon where the clouds turn green, which can be a predecessor to storms.
Yeah.
And so what's interesting about this movie is, in Twisters, our character she's able to interpret the data.
Yeah.
And that's her kind of wonderkin status because she's that good at that interpretation and reading it. With Bill, the movie's mythology is that he just has superpowered detection skills.
Yeah.
Feels it.
He feels it, which is interesting because in Twisters, if you've ever watched the trailer, the cowboy guy says, "If you can feel it, chase it." And so, interesting that
And they
is
shouted and they sell T-shirts
yeah,
and say
it's hilarious. He's a YouTube personality.
Oh,
Love
yeah.
it.
It's good. It's a good movie. We'll talk
It's
about
really good.
We'll talk about the comparisons here in a little bit as well. So we get like, yeah,
Well, they finish experiencing the water spout twister thing.
yeah. So he says going greenage, whatever. They finish with that. That's where they're getting better at this. They're getting better at the arguing comes into play. And I love how they're just nonchalant. Like, this apparently was normal when they were together as a team, that Bill and Joe just fought like this all the time. Yeah. And they were getting better at it. Suggests that they was pretty
They've
rough.
done it a long time.
They've been pretty bad at it.
But I feel like Melissa's very shaken up by this moment because the two water spouts collide literally on them and spin them around, which would be extremely scary.
I mean, anybody would be shaken up by
Yeah.
that,
Well,
except for
I
our
think-
storm chasers.
Well, in this, I think, remind me of this scene, both Joe and Bill scream in fear of what's happening.
Well, she's like, go, 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 go,
Yeah.
go. Like, she wants him to, like, pass it, but
Yeah.
he does
Well,
not.
when it hits
Kinda
them,
can't.
they're actually afraid because it's impacting.
Yeah.
So you see those two actually have some fear.
Mm-hmm.
Joe's crazy. She has. So what's interesting? So when we find out that he was called the Extreme because of something he did.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I'm not. I'm number 2 to the most craziest, and he kind of looks at Joe, and she doesn't deny it. She just kind of goes, okay, whatever, and she walks away. But I think both of them are just nuts. But you have to be in that position. You have to be that kind of crazy to do it. Again, I said so much showing, no telling. I love it. I love it. And then they are close to Wakita.
So they got to get steak and eggs.
Oh, it's another favorite line when they're like, when Joe's like, no, we're not going to visit my aunt. And they start to chant, food.
Food.
And then Philip Seymour Hoffman goes, sustenance, or something like that. Feed, or whatever. It's fantastic. I love it. So then we get to meet Aunt Meg.
By the way, fun fact, it is an 8-hour driving time to get to that town from here.
Really?
We're not that far.
Whoa. Okay.
Yep.
I feel like most people have a Aunt Meg in their life.
Yeah, I would agree.
Where she's like my mom would have been Aunt Meg.
Yeah.
Where like all the neighborhood kids come over and hang out at that spot.
Yeah.
And
I feel that my mom would have been too.
So an interesting fact about Lois Smith, who plays Aunt Meg, she was born in Topeka, Kansas.
Oh, that's cool.
She was born in 1930. It's November 3rd, 1930 in Topeka, Kansas.
I don't
She's
know how
still
to
alive.
say this, but like she looked like she belonged there.
Yeah.
Kind of thing,
There's
like-
there's something to be said for that. I think there's absolutely something to be said for that.
Basically, I want to be her. Like when
Yeah.
I'm older, like she's just so cool.
She's quirky, she's weird, she's funny.
All
she
her
makes,
art.
Yep.
Like, or just like her outfit, like
Yeah.
honestly, the way she wore her hair, I was like, oh, this could be me, and I wouldn't be mad at that.
So we get the story of the Extreme, and again, this
Oh my
is,
gosh.
this is where Melissa is our audience surrogate, and she's asking questions. Oh, you've lost me. Explain that again.
Right.
And so we get kind of the Fujita scale, that it's what it eats and what it destroys, whatever. And then we get the story of, well, why they keep going. She calls him Billy. I love how Melissa's like, well, why you call Billy? Like no one else calls him Billy.
Yeah, no.
Call him Bill, but you call him Billy. Okay, lady. And so she's like, well, why do they call Billy the Extreme? And Philip
Because he is the extreme.
he is the Extreme. And Philip Seymour Hoffman, they all tell the story in tandem. And the story's like, he was buck naked, and he's like, I was not bug naked, half naked. And then,
So naked.
And then Dusty says, naked. Like, he's the narrator here.
Yeah.
Unreliable as all heck as he is, but he's telling the story. And the story goes that they were chasing, and so Bill drove up in like an Altair, like an old car,
Yeah.
drunk, and like walked up to the tornado and said, drink this, and threw the bottle. The bottle didn't touch the ground, went into it.
So like he drank the tornado, drank it,
Yeah. And yeah.
sucked it right up.
Sucked it right up. So it's like it's one
Like
of those,
that's how legends. This is like a tall tale.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what's funny is that Joe's like, she's like, y'all need to get newer stories.
Yeah,
Like
literally.
they've obviously clearly been telling this story for
A long
so
time.
long. She's kind of tired of it.
Well, they end up talking about the different types of
So
tornadoes.
F5s, yeah. So at this time in '96, because they came up with a new new scale in the last couple of years, or whatever. But at that time in '96, or well '95 when the movie was being made, there was F5s meant something. And so they talk about F1s, F2s, they're the F3s, maybe F4s. And there's kind of like the cavalier conversation. They're still joking. And then Melissa asked the question, well, what's an F5? Or have you ever seen an F5?
Yeah,
And
Bill's-
and
pins would
it
drop.
goes dead quiet. And I think, is it Meg or someone says only one person on
Bill says it,
Yeah, Bill says only one person on our team.
and they refer to the F5 as God's finger.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
finger of God.
Which I also like I don't know if you noticed this, but he doesn't say her name. He just looks up.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's also a reference to not Joe, but also like God, because they're talking about the finger of God.
Oh.
I just thought that was kind of cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. So we get a lot of, like, again, I love this movie because it shows so much. It doesn't tell you a dang thing. I mean, yeah, we get the front loading of the Fujita scale and everything, whatever, but it's gonna have to happen.
Right.
But it's so effective in showing you these characters and that they're living, breathing real people. Like, even like the small like characters that we only hear from every so often in the scenes, you believe that they exist.
Yeah.
Like Rabbit, I believe he's Rabbit. I believe he is an anal retentive, map storing
Roll the maps.
genius. Yeah, he's so mad. Roll the maps. He's like, there's a crease through Kansas.
Honestly, as a kid, I was like, okay, I'll roll the maps.
Right. Yeah. But then my favorite part later, because when they crash into the highway earlier, he's like, my favorite part is, so they're like, Rabbit, are you sure about this? He's like, Rabbit is good. Rabbit is wise. And they go, Jesus Christ, holy! Like they're both just like this is. But you know when it's like he said this before, and they're like, this isn't gonna end well.
That was scary because they come right out on the other guys.
They're like, what comes out of this? Oh, the highway.
Should be any minute now. They're going through a cornfield like, where is it?
I love how he's like, is it a wall? Is it a bearded lady? It's like, no, it's a highway.
So much fun. And it's so like there's this thing in the last couple of years about like Marvel movies and the quippiness of Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And how it's become a thing. Like even in non-Marvel movies, the writers just can't resist the urge to quip it up. This movie does it, but it does it so effectively that it doesn't become like, oh my gosh, here we go with another quip fest. It's built in so well because the characters are, I mean, they've obviously been a team for years.
Yeah.
They've built a relationship. They know how to talk to each other. It's just, I love it. Okay, where are we at now?
Well, from Megs, of course, they get another radar.
Yep.
Woo woo, gotta go.
Yep.
Oh, this is the one on the hill. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Where they first tried for real, Dorothy.
Yeah. So this is the one that I call the teleporter.
Which I have
Because
it
in and out,
in
and out.
Yeah, it's in and out, and then at one point it completely disappears.
Yeah.
And then comes back right in front of them.
Right.
Oh, and this one was a scary one too. The lightning coming off of it.
Yeah.
And then they get stuck on that tree
Tree.
branch. Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah. And so there's some real tension here. And so, yeah, they lose Dorothy. They lose the third Dorothy at this point now.
Yep.
And so now it's just a mess. Go ahead.
Oh, crap. Hold on.
Well, no, this is the second Dorothy.
Oh, second Dorothy?
Yeah, because they have two for the final big
Final
guy.
one.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
I guess my thing is like, why didn't you guys practice how to get it off before you're actually in front of a
They're
tornado?
like, it's stuck.
Well,
I'm like,
I'm like, you got all this equipment, but not a knife to cut the
there.
ropes.
So
There.
what I love about that is that probably they're so underfunded and they're so like trying to do chasing. They haven't had a chance because you watch every couple of minutes. If we're not in a down moment, we're racing or we're being raced somewhere. Like you watch them as they get ready to leave. Anywhere they leave, they are scrambling. They are just grabbing stuff and throwing it in things. There is no organization at all.
And he's just throwing Melissa in a different car
Right.
like every
Go with
time.
Dusty. And I'm
Go
like,
with-
oh,
This
really?
This is a terrible idea. So there's a lot of that, just disorganized. So I think to that point, they just go with it in the moment. Obviously, yes, they should have run through some whatever. But yeah, it just becomes this chaos. And I think that's kind of illustrative of what it must be like in that situation as it was. Okay, so now they're chasing down another one. And this is the Phantom. And so the Phantom disappears and appears, and the trees one of the trees hits Dorothy, knocks it over. And so she's like, we gotta fix it. He's like, we gotta go.
It's going to land on us.
So then they get in the truck, and then the tree hits the truck, and they're not going anywhere. Like, I forgot how long that kind of struggle is.
It's scary.
It's genuinely terrifying. Now, this is part where the CGI falls apart. When the tree is coming at them,
Yeah, you
that's
can
a
tell.
CGI tree. Now, you have to blink, you have to squint a little bit to make it but it is absolutely a CGI tree. Now, once it hits the truck, that's a real prop. It's there, it's physically there. But as it's flying towards them, it's a CGI tree. And that's the one part where it falls apart. I mean, it's pretty believable if you just kind of accept it, but that's the one part where it falls apart. So the tree hits the truck, they're trying to get off that tree, and they're not having any luck. And the tornado's getting closer. And then, what is that? It's a fuel truck coming at them, fully loaded with fuel. So the truck slams into the hood of the other truck, bumps them off the thing, and they're able to get moving, but then the truck explodes.
In front of them.
And
they go through the fire.
The team's like, hey, did you see that explosion?
I saw.
saw it.
Yeah.
More like we went through it.
Right.
Like,
Which, and you'll notice after they come out of that, both of them are pretty sweaty. So there's some continuity. Like whoever was making this movie, the continuity department was like, yeah, they got to be sweaty because they just went through a bunch of heat and they would be cooking in that car, in that truck. So they get through and they're like, oh my gosh, what happens?
I just thought it was the rain because this is the one that had the hail and
No,
everything
they were. It may be a side effect, but I thought in my head, I'm like, oh, they're sweaty because they didn't seem very sweaty when they started out.
it's fair.
There you go. Okay, so what's next?
The movie theater.
Yeah. That one's crazy.
Okay.
But also Bill admits his feelings.
Yeah, so he does. He says, well, I'm here.
Well, she signs the paper here.
Yeah, she does. She does, but
Which is interesting.
He also told her like, and so Melissa hears this. She hears the, I'm here, like I'm still here, like I'm here for like. Then that's when the moment comes where Melissa realizes she's lost him. There's no coming back from it. So they end up at the movie theater. She's
Shining is playing.
yeah.
I'm like,
tornado's coming.
Really?
See, I always saw that. I was like, that's brilliant. Have
Yeah.
a super scary movie about someone coming after you.
Dude, he's doing the axe scene when the tornado comes through, and
It's-
I'm like, no.
Beautiful.
It's
Okay,
brilliant.
why does it bother you?
I'm just like, that's too much. Too much.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
The tornado breaking through the screen. As
I
he's
got
breaking
psychological
through the door.
Who's
terror,
the real
physical
monster
terror.
now?
All the terror.
All the terror.
Just a trauma sandwich.
Well, I just know how much they put her through making that movie, and she was unaware of all of that, and it makes me sad for her.
For who now? What now?
In The Shining, his wife.
Oh, Shelley Long.
Yeah, they didn't tell her about the axe scene or any of that,
Oh,
so that's
geez.
all pure
Oh.
terror.
Okay.
She said that she went through a lot of trauma from that movie. So
Well, she went through a lot even in life. And
Well,
she
I'm sure, yeah.
She recently passed. Yeah, Shelley Long. But yeah, she had a redemptive arc. She had some really great kind of success in Hollywood, and then she kind of just faded. We didn't really see enough of her since she passed. But yeah, no, I remember reading like that they really put the screws to her. Well, and Stanley Kubrick was not a nice director.
Yeah.
He was not a nice man. He was a brilliant genius, but not a nice man, which seems to be a reoccurring theme with the geniuses.
Honestly,
they
it
tend to be
is.
just mean and nasty and awful.
that's horrible.
Yeah, it's rough. Hopefully she's in a better place now.
Yes.
Okay, so we're at the movie theater, and what's interesting is there are indications that a storm is coming.
Mm-hmm.
We know it, but they seem genuinely unaware of it for whatever reason.
You're very sucked into the movie.
Well-
they Melissa's at a hotel. She's watching it on
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
The TV goes out, and it also goes out at the movie theater in the concessions.
Yeah, but even before that, they're talking about there's a storm headed for Canton.
I mean,
whatever.
there's thunder and lightning
Yeah.
above
I
them.
think it was Dusty that figures it out. At first, he's like, "It's coming right this way."
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and it may be that they're also, it's their downtime. Like, this is where they're trying to kind of get things, because they're in the shop. They're repairing their equipment.
Yeah.
They're repairing their trucks. So they're not really thinking, and it's night, so we've never had a tornado at night in this movie so far that we know of. And so there's this kind of natural downtime. And so it's that slow build. Like, the audience knows it's coming. We just don't know where. And this, I think, someone was talking about how this movie does a little bit of the Jaws with the tornado sometimes, is that it's the idea of, like, you can hear and see the storm building and things are happening, but you don't know it until it's absolutely right on top of you. And you're like, ah!
They do that in the new one on
Yeah.
purpose. The director had that in mind.
Yeah.
oh, guys, I have an update.
Oh.
My phone says rain ending in 14 minutes. I don't think it's raining.
Check the cameras. We're both checking the
I
cameras.
do not think it's raining.
Sorry, just side note.
Stand by. Hold on. We're checking.
Yeah, the clouds were a little scary before we started the podcast.
Yeah, it was. The lighting was.
No, there's a
insane.
storm. There's a storm in Wiggins, and then there's a storm to the whatever below, away from us. It's all around us, just not with us.
So that's what it is.
Rude.
Yeah.
We need rain.
Yes,
yeah,
we do.
We do, but we don't need the crazy.
No, just normal rain.
All right, so I love this scene. It is absolutely
Crazy.
yeah.
It's exactly why tornadoes are the scariest thing, man.
Right. So they find out the tornado's here. It's coming. They're like, everybody get. And what I love about this movie is they're like, get in a shelter, go, and people move. People respond. They don't go, oh, they're like, let's go. And so it feels like a lot of people got saved. We don't see people get sucked into the tornadoes. Spoiler alert, a lot of people get sucked into tornadoes and twisters.
Yep.
It's a little bit too, like, that's my bit. Like, I have some unnatural fears and I have some normal fears. My unnatural fear would be that dying, have that as a way to die.
I'm
like,
good.
Being sucked into a tornado because you just no.
You
Knock
definitely
me out first.
You
Or
definitely
something.
feel the stakes. I know. I'm with you. I'm like,
No.
I
kill me
think
quick.
you're most likely to die by debris.
Yeah, that's more like
Which speaking of, they go down into the shelter.
Ooh.
The guy, like the roof is coming off.
Yeah.
And they do not duck and cover, and dude gets whacked in the forehead.
Well,
with
so he's
a film reel.
They're trying to grab the hose that's spraying all over them, and so he's like, "Got it!" And then a wheel,
That could have been bad.
yes,
I've been real bad.
yeah. But then Joe's like, "You're okay, preacher. You're okay. I got you."
But it's almost like I can't feel my head kind of
Yeah,
situation.
he's like my head. So they get, but they all hunker down, and it's not. It might. I don't know if it's his station wagon, but a station wagon comes through the roof, boosh, and then the movie sign crashes through it. So it's just.
It makes me want to wear a helmet next time there's a tornado warning.
So
Honestly, for real. Just like, I'm gonna put on my bike helmet.
So the guy who plays the character in Saving Private Ryan, he's in this movie. Where is he?
He was the one that was in the car.
Yeah, he
I was like,
wears.
what are you doing in
You
the
see him with a helmet
car?
in this movie at some
Oh,
point.
yeah.
He's got a helmet.
Oh, he does.
Yeah,
Yes, he does.
Yes, my spirit animal.
Well, it was so interesting enough. Yeah, he dives into the truck to seek safety and doesn't. So then
I love that part.
Helen Hunt grabs
She's
him.
like, no, come on.
Come with me.
Get out
Grab
of the
my hand.
truck.
Grab my hand. But it also speaks to like how much she cares about her team.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
she's not letting anybody die. Like no one's gonna be left behind. And they all get down. They all hunker down together. They all get there together.
Yes.
And they're and yeah, it's
Even though I feel like she waited a little bit too long looking at the tornado before she left.
well.
But she's getting better.
Here's what I appreciate about that. Yeah. So to Vicky's point, so she stands there and she's watching it. And she's I feel like, again, this is the show versus tell, right?
Right.
So they're showing us her expression, and Helen Hunt, literally one of the greatest actresses of our time. Just in this movie, especially her facial, like how she shows things and how she, like insane amount of emotion she tells you. You're like, I know what's going on. I got it. She just showed me. Wow, impressive. But in that moment, you can see her calculating. Do I stand here and watch and wait? Do I get closer to it? Do I risk what I've been, or because Bill's had that conversation with her, don't risk your life. I'm here now. In that moment, he says, Joe, and she just kind of snaps out and she goes, okay, cool, y'all go underground, move, immediately kicks into high gear. I think those girls got saved because they obviously escaped. And then they go in, and it's wild. And then they pull I love about this scene is that in this movie they show you the devastation. They don't just kind of do like tight close-ups. They pull back and they show you how awful these tornadoes are and the damage and destruction. And so we get a better, fuller picture of this movie theater and so when the police are showing up and they come out that door and they pull back and you're just like,
Whoa.
But then we don't have a lot of time to breathe.
Nope.
Because guess what?
On to the next.
The storm is headed towards Wakita. And this moment, I love it because, again, these characters are really good. These actors, they realize what's going to happen on Meg. And it's not even we need to wait. We need to think about this. It's like, we're going.
Yeah, like get me a route around the storm. Like,
Yeah,
let's go.
Let's go. Rabbit, find me a way. Let's get this going. This is where Melissa gets her moment. This is where
I'm proud of her, honestly.
Yeah.
I was definitely proud.
Well,
I was
and
like,
I guess to swerve. Go ahead.
I was like, that's like the best thing you possibly could have done.
Right.
Like, just back out.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't for you.
Yeah. So to swerve into Counselor's Corner, why? Like, what do you like? Why do you? I guess why is it good for her to have done that? And what is the danger of not having that moment?
Oh, they would have never worked out.
Yeah.
And I mean, she definitely even said that. I
Yeah.
mean, like, I can't compete with this. I
Yeah.
can't be on this
Well, and
level.
the fact that he didn't tell her about any of it.
Well, he did, but I don't think she like realized that it was like real.
She thought it was a metaphor.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Weird.
no.
Who
Yeah.
thinks that?
Well, and then she even says something like, and I don't even feel bad.
Yeah.
And I feel like that tells me everything. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, girl, like if you don't really love him,
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you feel
It's
some
time.
relief after a breakup, that's a very good sign
Yeah.
that you should not go back.
100%. And I think she can really how much they love each other.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she heard it
And,
too.
and I wouldn't even like not just their personal relationship, but like their love for tornadoes and storm chasing and like the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like,
My favorite line from Melissa. There's a lot, but my I've watched.
cow.
Yeah, that's another cow. Same cow. What I love about this movie, I've watched some kind of like things about this movie and read some comments on YouTube or whatever. And there's an interesting moment, is when he says, "Hey, can I get you home? Like, can I get you a car?" And she's like, "No, I know my way home."
yeah.
And she does this lip biting situation, and I don't know what that signifies. It's almost like regret, or like she's
It's a little sad.
She's a little sad, but I think in a part of her heart, she still has some love for the guy.
I would see that as like, well, you have your home. Like I can
Yeah.
see that you're home
You're
with
right.
your people.
And I can find my way back home to my people. I think that's because they're two very different people, and it's also the fight between two doctors.
Yeah.
It's Dr. Joe Harding and Dr. Melissa Reeves. It's interesting. We have 3 doctors in this movie, and only 2 of them survive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I never thought about that before. Like, because Dr. Melissa Reeves, she says it on Dr. Melissa Reeves. Carrie Elwes says Dr. Jones Miller. Like, they use their name as a thing.
Yeah.
If Dr. Jones Miller hadn't died, maybe him and Dr. Melissa Reeves would have been a good pairing of people.
She could have helped him.
Yeah, she could have brought him some semblance of
I love
order.
Carrie Elwes, but I don't wish his character on
Anybody? Yeah,
no.
I don't think you could have fixed Dr. Jones Miller. So she says, "I'll find my way back home."
He's
and
just so serious. Like I'm
Yeah.
used to him being more
Right.
comedic and
right.
like
Yeah.
Yeah, even when I've seen him like in other roles as a villain, he's got like a twinkle in his eye. The only
There's
time he has
no-
a twinkle in his eye is when he's heavily insulting Bill, like in that interview.
Yeah.
he almost has like a flat affect. It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we get to Akita, and so
Meg's house.
yeah. So what's interesting is we saw so the cinematographers were intentional. So when we arrived in Wakita the first time, they showed us what Main Street looked like, a brief glimpse. And I love how they didn't hang on to that moment too much, because then it would have told us, oh, we're going to see this again. They just give us a brief glimpse, like, oh, here's Main Street, oh, we're gone. And they give us Meg's house, so that when we come back to Akita and we see all of the destruction, we go, oh, this is bad.
And they make sure to tell you they didn't have any warning.
Didn't have any warning. And so we get to Meg's house, which is a set piece unto itself. That thing was rigged to fall apart, clearly, obviously. But they go in, they try and they find Meg. She's pinned underneath something. The TV almost takes him out.
Yeah.
Like, there's just a bunch of crazy stuff. Then Bill has to go get the dog because the
No.
dog's scared,
No.
carries him out. And it's funny, like, it reminds me of the Blues Brothers when the car falls apart at the end of the movie when they finally get there. Like, the minute Bill hits the ground,
Yeah, I thought that was like a comedic moment. Like, like the way it just collapses.
Yeah. It did kind of feel like, wow, all right, well, that was very close. So they get her in the truck, and we find out it wasn't just the head injury. She has a broken wrist.
And even then, like, she's still so supportive of them going and
Yeah.
chasing
But
after
she's
these-
also like, oh my gosh, I don't need to go to the hospital. At least let me drive.
Yeah.
Honey, your
You can't.
truck's in a tree.
Right.
Ah.
Yeah. So it's a cool little kind of close up for Meg. But this is that moment of, like, now it's personal. Now Joe wants to get the data she needs to
And
get.
I think it's cute how Meg's like, you know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, go do it. Go
Well,
save
and
the world.
the story we don't get is what happened to Joe's mom.
Yeah.
Thank you. That
Yeah.
is the biggest plot hole for me.
Yeah.
And I did not like that.
Yeah.
Because at first I thought Meg was her mom, and then
Yeah.
they kept saying aunt, so I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that can't be her mom.
And Aunt Meg doesn't mention anything about mom.
No.
About her sister.
The only thing I could think of is like after dad's gone and their house is destroyed that they would move in with family, but like
Right.
still,
Yeah, what
where's
happened to
mom?
We don't get mom's story.
Yeah.
We don't, and I mean, she doesn't mention dad much.
Right.
Bill's the one who says you can't bring back your dad, but she never verbalizes any of that, which I think is interesting. And if we were to swerve into Counselor's Corner or Counselor's Lane, we've upgraded it. Do you think that that's normal, or would that be something where we'd be like, hey, we need to figure out why you're not talking about your mom or your dad?
I would say it would be normal.
Okay. That makes sense.
Because a lot of time you're trying to suppress that.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. Okay. What happens next? Okay, so now...
The next one.
She gets an idea from all of, like, the wind chimes and
Oh, yeah.
She's
stuff, because we haven't talked about it yet, but they're having a problem with the sensors and not getting them to fly up into the tornado.
Well, there's two problems. So Dorothy has to be weighted down.
Yeah.
Because it's too light.
Yeah.
And then there's the issue of the sensors are not aerodynamically, whatever you want to call it. They can't get up in the...
Which I think is like, just don't lie to me, movie. You're throwing semi-trucks through the air.
It's fair.
I think
You're not picking up these little tennis balls.
I think part of it was for the fun of it, but also because it's a Pepsi sponsor. All those cans.
Yes.
were
Oh,
Pepsi.
yeah.
That's true.
So, but you'll also notice as they're constructing, all of them have Band-Aids on their fingers.
Yes.
All of them.
And they're bleeding.
Yeah. So they're having to cut all this aluminum and then screw it. Like, so they're all like...
They're like making wings and propellers.
But I
for
love,
them.
again, this movie doesn't tell us that. It shows us. You have to look for it.
Yeah.
And you're going, oh my gosh, the Band-Aids are increasing. What is going on? But again, they're not professionals. They're college students or college staff. They're just doing what they can to make it work. Right. So they get it all attached. And yeah.
And they're crazy. Again.
On to the big boss.
Yeah.
The final boss.
Yep. So this is this the fine?
This is the F5. That's like a mile wide.
Yeah.
Okay. And do they get one? They have two Dorothys right now, right?
Yep.
So then
They plant one in the middle of the road.
and that one doesn't work.
And it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
They need to weigh it down.
And they're warning. They're warning Doofus. What's
Jonas.
his name?
Yeah.
Jonas. Like, you need to get out of there. Like,
Oh yeah. This is when Jonas bites it.
another bad CGI moment.
Yeah, I would agree.
When their truck hits the ground and explodes.
Why
Yeah.
would you say that? I thought it was pretty...
The explosion looked like bad.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
I mean, if you don't focus on it too hard, I mean...
No, and I'm sure back then on a CRTV, like...
Yeah.
How would you know what it would look like for... I mean, for real, like a car to explode from a tornado.
I think in 1996 it would have looked great. It would have looked fantastic.
Yeah, because your TVs aren't high definition.
Yeah. In
Yeah.
2024, we've got 4K, 8K, 20K, 9K, 60 million.
All the Ks.
All the Ks. So
Jeez.
Imagine if we would have watched this like upstairs in our where our good TV is.
yeah. Yeah.
true.
Then you would have been like.
Then I would have probably noticed a
yeah.
lot, but yeah.
Well, they can digitally enhance some stuff. Anyway, so Jonas bites it, and what I like about this is they are genuinely concerned for him. They're like, dude, and they talk to the driver like they know him. Like, hey, Gerald, whatever his name was, like I'm not trying to put you in harm's
I know
way.
you're listening.
Yeah.
Turn around.
And he's like, we should turn around. And he's like, no, we're doing it. And so then the big old pylon murders the driver. And then Carrie Elwes' character has the audacity to look shocked for the few seconds we see him. And then they get pulled into the storm and die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After Somebody I'll have to go back and watch it and slow it down. But they say that they think they saw Carrie Elwes' character's body as it's being flung after the fact. What?
I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I did not notice that at all.
I read it somewhere and I was like, I'll have to dig into that at some point.
You know what really got to me about this moment is like the whole time he has been listening to him. Obviously, he created the same device.
Yeah.
He's been following them the whole time.
Yeah.
This is like the one time he doesn't listen to him.
Right.
And look what happens.
Right. Well, there's a point in the movie where they make a turn, and he says, "No, we're not going that way."
It's like, dude.
And I think he's now worried that if he's seen to follow them everywhere, his guys are gonna be like, "Dude, we're just following these people.
That's
We're
true.
gonna make our own path." But it's that hubris of, well, I know better. I'm gonna do my own way. And it does play out in Twisters in a similar fashion, where there's a little bit of that going on. It's not as outright destructive as this one is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is present in the movie. So he died, and they both Jonas both Bill and Joe are mad, and Bill is really upset. Like, he throws the microphone from a CB radio, and he's mad. He's upset at that loss. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
To see that genuine care for a human being's loss. Like, it upsets them. They're mad.
So his dad also pointed out, like, it's a total male reaction.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you noticed, but Joe's kind of calm and
Yeah.
like she's upset, but like she's not like throwing things and like yeah.
Well, I think it feeds into to Bill's anger issues that he has.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
very expressive. He's very emotive. Okay. So,
There was a phrase her dad used, but I can't say it here.
oh, okay. Fair enough. So now from here to the end, it is a roller coaster.
They should have
ride.
died a million times.
Oh my gosh.
But it's fantastic. It
Yeah.
is absolutely. It's Jan de Bont. It's classic Jan de Bont. He is an action director. He is known for just rock and roll. So let me look up. Oh my gosh, I don't want all these pop-ups. Stop it. Let's look up Jan. Look up Jan de Bont. I think he's French. Yeah. Oh, here's a funny story. So Jan de Bont was one of 17 children born into a Roman Catholic Dutch family in Eindhoven in 1943.
Irma.
So he's had.
That's a lot of kids.
So he as director, cinematographer. So yeah, cinematographer. He was Lethal Weapon 3, Hunt for Red October. He's the cinematographer on Hunt for Red October. Die Hard.
No way.
Not director, cinematographer.
Oh my-
I mean, look at the action of this movie.
That's crazy. Please tell me Dante's Peak is on there because that's all I could think about.
I think he might have been a director of Dante's Peak. I'm looking.
I
I'm
could see it.
scrolling down to. I gotta find his director thing here. Hold on. Is he? Wait, was he? Wait, where's his director credits?
Weird.
Director. Six director credits. So he directed. He directed Speed,
Okay.
Yeah.
Twister, Speed 2, Cruise Control,
Right.
The Haunting, and then Laura Croft, Tomb
The
Raider.
Haunting?
Yeah, he directed Haunting.
No way.
Yeah, 1999. He hasn't directed a movie since 2003.
Okay.
But he was behind the camera for a lot of classics.
Nice.
But Hunt for Red October is my favorite because I love that movie, and the fact that he was a cinematographer on that makes sense. Okay, so
They are able to successfully
yes,
get the Dorothy to fly.
by anchoring it to the truck.
And jumping out.
Yeah. This is where the jumping of the shark moment happens for this movie. There is no way.
Well, because you have them over the radio. Get out of there. Well, they can't hear you.
Right.
Because it shifted after
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
And the truck is now inside the tornado.
So
Yeah, and the whole
And then
crew
it
is,
starts to come at them.
right.
the crew's
yeah.
like, it's working.
We're getting data. And now they have to outrun the tornado, which would not happen.
This
No way.
sequence went on for a very long time.
But I love it because it's just action adventure. It's just
okay, in that barn, were they just what did that family do for a living?
So that so if you
They were medieval blacksmiths.
no, so there is a lot of tools on the farm that you would need. A lot of that, like the scythes, were probably used for crops. A lot of that stuff was probably used for animal husbandry. A lot of stuff
Yeah.
was like plows, things like that. So
There were
yeah,
swords in there.
It looked a little Texas Chainsaw to me. You know, I haven't seen the movie. I just knew enough to be
Yes, that's what it looks like in the movie for sure.
like,
you
so
do
mad
know
at
we
me.
live in an agricultural community here in Fort Morgan.
Listen, these farmers we know are going to listen to this podcast.
You never know; they might stumble onto it by chance.
You think
Anyway,
think any of those guys?
there's a chance. You never know.
Just don't go in the barn if there's
Yeah.
a
Okay.
tornado.
So
apparently.
yeah, because barns do have equipment sheds. They do have a lot of that like very metallic, sharp stuff. So they're like, "Who are these people?" It's meant for a laugh. It gets a laugh. So then they take off running as the barn gets demolished.
See, I'm like, why did you even go through the barn
Right.
to go out of the barn?
Right.
See, I actually don't remember them leaving the barn. So like, I'm like, oh, good. I'm glad we left. That was
Yes.
smart.
The director was just like, no, we can still destroy some stuff.
Through CGI. Well, so there's a cool marriage of CGI and practical because those fences, that's real.
Right.
So those fences are that are flying off.
Oh.
That's real. Some of it's CGI the farther away you get.
Right.
But some of that's practical. So they had to figure out how to probably like wire up those pieces of wood. So then you would. It would pull
Oh,
out.
they're rippling like water. It's
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that going on. So then they end up in a shed with the pipes.
Yeah.
And they're like, these things go down 30 feet, so it'll be fine. No.
And they strap themselves
They
to
strapped to it
Yeah.
with like
Well, I'm looking at the gutter going, why don't you just take that off and get down in it? Then you'd be underground. Partly.
Right.
That's where my
Actually,
brain went.
yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
You'd have to. I don't know. They made their decision.
You're going to tie yourselves up with a belt.
Right. They strap themselves
Okay.
in, and then the tornado basically sucks them up, and they hold on. They would not survive.
Oh,
that.
upside down with their legs dangling.
Yeah. The thing about it, obviously, practically, the debris that Phil mentioned earlier would have probably torn them apart.
I can't remember, was it you or my dad that was like, their shoes would have flown off?
Yeah.
Your dad.
Yep. The clothes
Had to
would,
reel it tight.
clothes would have been ripped off.
Yeah, like,
there is
dude.
no way. So then what we get is we get a full circle moment because it drops, and then we see the family coming out of the storm cellar.
And they didn't take the house.
And it didn't. And what's interesting is, so I was reading comments and facts and figures on both Twister and Twisters. There is a phenomenon where tornadoes they'll take one house, and then they won't touch the other side of the street.
Totally.
And they'll the path that they will take is not logical. It's just it's the whim of nature. And so he said, I'm glad that they didn't take the house, because that has happened in multiple big F5s, big F where just entire neighborhoods, and then there's one house left standing or whatever. So
And then the horses were fine.
yep. Well, I think
I'm so glad.
so
Vibing.
because we did the Never-Ending Story, right?
Yes.
And we talked about the horse.
With James, but not with these guys.
I'm like, no.
You guys didn't do that one.
I've seen it.
So yeah, I think that's where I was like, oh, they're not going to kill the horses, are they? And they didn't. Of
They
course.
did not.
Well, and the music that's playing as the camera pans to the horses is very bright.
Yeah.
And it's almost like me being like, don't worry, we wouldn't have killed them.
See,
We
but
just
the
want-
new Twisters, there's not a lot of mercy shown.
Oh yeah, no,
Aw.
everything dies.
Apparently,
everybody.
people get.
Right. A lot of people get.
I
sucked
feel
up.
like there's at least one death per Twister in that movie.
Yeah, it's rough. So we get the horses are fine, the family's fine, the house is fine, and
And they're
then
like, everything works.
everything worked. We got it.
I love
I
it.
can
They're
run
like,
the lab and you can do analysis. No.
I'm gonna run the lab. You're gonna do the analysis, and he just
Dusty's like, look at that sky,
yeah.
and she's like, I'm
We've seen enough.
yeah,
And
we've
then they
seen enough
kiss.
of it.
Yeah, and then they kiss. But what's funny is that the rest of the guys just kind of step off and let them kiss, and they're having fun. So yeah,
We did it.
we did it. And so yeah, then the movie ends. That's the end of Twister.
Yeah.
I love this movie.
Oh,
Like,
yes,
it's an
100%.
absolute there's not the only few issues I had is the CGI with the tree. And that's it. Everything else, I forgot how much fun this movie is to watch and how much it doesn't front load with exposition.
Yeah.
It doesn't spoon feed you. It says, okay, you need the basic structure of meteorology. We're going to give you some smart people that look like they're smart on screen at the National Association of Weather Service. Cool, but we're going to just trust you to pick it up as you go, and you're in it with us. Let's roll. Let's go. And this movie does not stop from start to finish.
No, it's very engaging for a 2-hour movie.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
It is rock'em sock'em. Let's do this. So I absolutely love it. It's so good. I would give this movie a 10 out of 10 easily.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, 10.
I literally watched it twice in the past 2 days.
I'm a 9.
Aw.
Oh, why? No. 10.
Nine's still good, but why not a 10?
There's parts of the movie that are a little boring to me.
Okay.
Like, he did not like the the eating. He's like, why are we doing this? This is taking up time.
My favorite line from that scene is when Ferris Bueller's friend or whatever his name is,
Rabbit.
Yeah, Rabbit goes, "Oh, this is some good steak. This fresh steak. Where'd you get it?" And she said, "Did you see my cows on front?"
Yeah.
Oh.
Because
That was
he's like,
a good
no, I
one.
want to see your
There
cows.
was
Oh.
just there was just some parts of it that are not memorable to me.
Yeah.
Like when you guys were talking about the diner, them fighting.
Yeah.
I blocked that out.
It's
and
real
I just
subtle.
watched it a
Yeah.
little while ago. I did remember the Melissa and Joe talking,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's just I don't know. I guess I love the movie.
Because you
a
said
9.
it still stands up
Yeah,
today.
yeah. All the effects, it looks great.
Oh, she looks so different now.
Oh, Helen Hunt.
Yeah, she's still pretty though.
Yeah. So when we get Helen Hunt here, so we get her in 1996. This was when she was in the TV show Mad About Me, or Mad About You. Sorry, with as the character Jamie Buchanan. She was then also in As Good as It Gets in '97.
I love that
Yeah.
And so there's a kind, and I don't want to call it the golden period of Helen Hunt movies because she's still an incredible actress. She still should be in movies. We shouldn't be thinking anything about her age, but I will freely admit this. In 1996, as like a 8th grade, 9th grade boy, she was kind of cute.
Yeah.
Like Ellen, I was like, she is like awesome. Like she's a Stormont chaser. Like wow, she's wow.
She has a beautiful smile. Like that lights up the whole room.
But also her emotions.
But she's not like super glamorous. Like something about her is very natural and very effortless.
Totally.
Yeah, for most of the movie, she wears like an armless shirt, like a sleeveless shirt, and like khakis.
Yeah.
That's it. She's not dressed up at all.
No.
And the aunt says this line when she's like getting ready, and she's pretty casual with it. Aunt Meg's like, it doesn't matter what you do, you're always going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're biased.
That's so sweet.
It is sweet.
It's a cool little.
I want to step in here and say I want to issue a half retraction.
Oh my land.
On my,
Dun, dun, dun. Breaking
On
news!
my
Breaking
score.
news! We have a retraction from
it might be a 10.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
Wow, that didn't take long at all. That was like 3 minutes.
Well,
That's a new
I
record.
had to think about it, but
Okay.
Zoe will vouch for me. I was watching this movie while I was extremely tired.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted a nap.
Yeah, it's not a good time to watch stuff.
Yeah, I feel you.
So
Yeah.
I've been in that state and be like, is that really boring? Or was I really tired? And I've like gone back and watched things when I'm more awake and like, no, it actually is good.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was really tired. So
Well, we can watch it again when we get home.
oh, no, we
Let's
can't.
go.
It feels like no.
No, I got to do other stuff.
All right.
I got to finish The Boys and find out why everyone's so mad.
Oh my gosh, he is on season 4 now.
Yeah.
So.
That is not a show review for this podcast.
No,
Oh no, we couldn't.
absolutely
There's no
not.
way.
Very clear. We won't. And I would not recommend our listeners watch.
No, it's like the
Boys.
beginning of South Park where it's like this should not be viewed by anyone.
Yeah. It's not. No, I haven't watched.
No,
it.
I'm doing this as my own personal journey
Okay.
for my own research.
Yeah, I kind of gave up.
Phil's journey.
Okay,
Yeah.
Aaron's rubbing off on you. Are you hate watching this?
No,
Okay, good.
For the 4th season, you may watch. You may watch it.
I just it's a thing that like I put off for so long because
Okay.
everyone was talking about it, and then I'm like, I'll check it out, mainly because all of a sudden everyone now is mad at it, and I'm like, okay, well, I want to know why everyone else is hate watching it.
Right. Exactly. So there you go. All right. So we will probably do 16 Candles next week. We'll see.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll do it. But that's a good movie. You should absolutely watch.
Technically,
Twister.
it tied in because we had the Ferris Bueller Rabbit.
Oh yeah,
There we go. There's our connection.
we're gonna work that angle. That's how we're gonna pull it
Yeah.
off.
And Chet,
And Chet.
And
yes.
Chet. I can't unsee it now, and
It bothers you.
it bothers me so much.
I love, but Bill Paxton has played. I mean, again,
A
obviously
number of roles.
we lost him, but he is. And in this movie, he's not Bill Paxton. He's absolutely this dude.
Oh yeah, don't.
He lives it. He is everything about him. He's just this great. I love this movie. Can't say enough about it. All right, well that's been that. Some of you are probably going back to school or going back out of your summer plans. We wish you the best, and lift us up as you in your thoughts as we get ready to
Seriously.
return, because it's gonna be great. We're looking forward to a great year.
oh yeah, because we're all going back to school.
Yep,
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
school. Woo! It's Adam Sandler,
Back to
Billy
school,
Madison.
back to school. Try to prove that I'm not the fool.
Yeah.
My boots laced up. And
Oh
my
my
shoes
gosh,
tight.
this is
Oh,
Zap.
I hope I don't get in a fight.
Wow.
Good old Billy Madison. So that was the goal. We could probably do some golden age of Adam Sandler movies.
Really?
I can't believe I actually did that whole thing.
I can't either.
I mean, I think Billy Madison we could do.
Okay, so I haven't never seen that one. So
All right,
I
well, then
would
we have
be
to do
okay.
50 First Dates.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, we can do 50 First Dates. All right, so we'll be moving our way through John Hughes, Adam Sandler, and probably Chris Farley as well.
Yes.
Because you've got to do Black Sheep.
Beverly
and,
Hills Ninja.
Yeah, Beverly Hills Ninja is a fantastic little movie.
One of my favorite.
It's one of
I don't
my
know why
favorites,
when I made my top 10 list, I did not put it on there, but
Yeah.
Did you not?
or maybe I did. I don't know, but I love that movie.
Yeah.
So much for several reasons.
Yeah.
Robin Shu or Shao.
Yeah.
He is Liu Kang in the original Mortal Kombat
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
He's beautiful.
Love that beautiful man.
He is very beautiful.
Yeah, and well, then you got Tommy Boy and what's the other one? Black Sheep. And those two movies together are fantastic. They
Yes.
are Chris Farley's best work in the entire world. So we'll do some mix and matching as we go. Until next time,
I'm Aaron.
My name is Aaron.
I was such concern. You can't see it, but
You got your revenge, didn't you?
Zoe was very concerned that I had lost.
I was a little concerned too, to be
I
honest.
know. I was trying to come up with like a good saying or something. We've always tried, and we've never really had a saying. I was struggling.
Our saying is there are spoilers.
Yeah,
That's
there
our
we go.
tagline.
There we go.
Spoilers.
Until we meet again in the audio version of the podcast. My name is Aaron,
I am Phil.
I'm Vicki.
And I'm Zoe.
and I'm Aaron again. Have a good time. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The raspberry flop of ours will be out in a moment. The kitchen is closed.
You've been listening to the Nerds by Screenlight podcast, presented by Create at Morgan Productions, located in Fort Morgan, Colorado, USA. For more information on our production house, other podcasts hosted here, and further details, please visit www.createatmorgan.org. You can find us on Twitter at the handle CreateAtMorgan. Create at Morgan is a school club at Lincoln High School, our alternative education campus in Morgan County. Our sponsor is Aaron DeLay, the language arts teacher at Lincoln. Send any feedback to adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to our podcast.